Hello friends, welcome to Ecoholics YouTube channel. My name is Avinash Agarwal, and in this video I'll be discussing with you important government schemes and programs which can find a way into your examination. So we have started this exercise that every Saturday we discuss with you at least 3 or 4 important government schemes or programs. Every Saturday we are doing this. Okay, and I'm using PIB as the base material to bring to your attention important developments that have happened within the government's policies, schemes, programs, landscape, which can directly or indirectly find a way into the examination, maybe in the form of a multi-choice question or maybe as a standalone question, elaborative question, which you will have to answer in, let's say, 250 words or something like that. Okay. So keeping that spirit alive, I have selected 4 articles today. Okay. First article, something that I wanted to discuss since a very long time, is India's significant achievements of self-reliance in defense production. Okay, so as compared to where we stood, let's say even 7 8 years ago, and where we are standing now, and where we are headed, this is something which is extremely remarkable in a very positive way, right? That the amount of defense indigenization that we have been able to pull off in the last 7 8 years, it's absolutely humongous. Okay, and lots of initiatives have been taken by the government in this regard. And why am I discussing defense production in an economics class, right? I'm doing that because if you are doing defense production in India, you are doing a couple of things. You're saving on massive outflow of foreign exchanges. You're keeping that within your country. You're doing value addition within your country. You're creating jobs within your country, and you know the positives of being able to create jobs within your country is not elaborating on that at all. You're getting technology transfer into your country, right? This technology transfer and associated spin-offs that we will get in terms of smaller ventures, that will be very helpful. If you have a mega factory producing in India, you will have a lot of ancillary factories that will eventually come up around that mega factory to support the requirements of that mega factory, right? So this is called as ancillarization in economics, right? So as you can see, that the reason I always wanted to discuss this at least once in our series of sessions, right, was that I wanted to give you an understanding of how defense production indigenization is so important from an economic standpoint, right? So I'll be discussing this article with you. I just want to display to you all the articles that we'll be discussing. I'll be hopping, skipping and jumping between these articles, right? I'll be discussing the most important matters with you. Next comes your livestock census. No prizes for guessing why I'm discussing this with you, right? Allied activities is a very important source of income for farmers. They're very resilient, very sustainable, right? Very important looking at the consumption pattern and trends of our population, right? So significant amount of government money, citizens' money has been spent on pushing the allied sectors in the direction of modernization, in the direction of value addition, in the direction of, giving it the necessary support that it deserves, right? So from every point of view, allied sectors are very, very important, and livestock census is an important tool. I would like to just discuss the important findings over here. Then next comes your third article, which is about land records getting digitized, right? Again, this is one of the pillars of the modern day land reforms that we can implement. We cannot implement the land reforms of 1950s very easily anymore. At least the Land Sealing Act, etc., have lost their meaning. What we can definitely do is that we can protect tenancies. Definitely, we can protect tenancies, right? Abolition of intermediaries is something which is irrelevant as of now, right? Land sealing, I think, is irrelevant, right? What we can do is that we can protect tenancies for sure. We can regularize tenancies for sure, right? And we can try to help out the small and marginal farmers, sure, right? For any of these things to be done, we need digitized land records, right? And if we have actually been able to digitize 95% of land records in rural India, that's fantastic achievement, right? I would like to discuss this with you, right? And then comes your fourth article, which is Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana. Again, I have picked this up because this is one of those schemes which is directed towards the upliftment of the vulnerable sections within the Indian population. From an economic standpoint, from giving access to formal financial channels for borrowing point of view, this is extremely important. It gets me into the culture of borrowing money, investing money in my project, earning from it, repaying it back, borrowing more money, investing in my project, earning from it, repaying, right? So it gets me habituated to that cycle. It targets me as a woman, me as a scheduled caste, me as a scheduled tribe. It's a very helpful scheme, right? So very, very important. So let's start with our discussion. These are the four topics that I would like to discuss with you. I hope that this is making sense to you. I hope that you're understanding where I'm going to go with this particular discussion, right? So let us start. Let us start by talking about defense, right? So the immediate, you know, the immediate catalyst for this particular article is that Tata Aircraft Complex at the Tata Advanced Systems Limited campus, right? This was inaugurated in Vadodara, Gujarat, right? So this is a very important milestone. I mean, the fact that your private sector is able to participate so openly and so willingly, right? That in itself is a small achievement, guys, right? So the idea is that we'll be using this facility for C-295 military transport aircraft manufacturing, right? So this is, again, there are a lot of firsts over here, right? I mean, this is the first private sector final assembly line for military aircraft in India. So this is not without government's support, not without government's commitment towards indigenization, right? So we will be delivering 56 C-295 aircrafts, right? So initial 16 they will be arriving from Airbus in Spain and 40 will be produced domestically, right? So the idea over here is that again we are shifting towards self-reliance in defense manufacturing, right? This will help us in being operationally ready. This will help us in reducing dependency. See, because what happens is that if you are embroiled, unfortunately, if India gets embroiled in a conflict with a neighbor, and then we go looking around for technology, a lot of countries have denied us technology in our, most severe times of needs. Right. So when we say that we want to be self-reliant, when we say that we want to be operationally ready, when we say that we want to reduce dependency, it's not without historical context. There is an acute historical context that what happened during the Kargil war is that our friends didn't support us as fully as they should have supported us. We remember that very well, right? It's there in our memory, and that is what is guiding our policies even today, and it's fair, right? So the idea is that we were a major arms importer, right? And now we are becoming a center for indigenous production. That's the kind of transformation that we are undergoing, right? So the idea over here is that if you look at what happened in the financial year 23-24, so we have around 1.27 lakh crore worth of domestic defense production. Now this is the amount of money that would have been spent on imports had we not been domestically producing the same items. And this is very important. In a very short period of time, if we have not already done it, in a very short period of time, India will be able to transform itself from being, let us say, a net importer to being a net exporter. It can be done. It can be done with the kind of manufacturing prowess that we have. It can be done, right? So the idea over here is that given the continuous focus on self-reliant manufacturing, right, we have been able to do this. Okay, so if you look at the value of production in the last 10 years, so we have tripled the value of production, right? From around being 46,000 crore to now around 127,000 crores, right? The increase is significant, right? Increase is significant, right? And this increase has happened because I said that, right, from a very early stage we have been focusing upon this, right? All the defense PSUs, they have, pulled their weight behind this particular initiative, right? If you look at the numbers, there is a 174% increase, right? Is what we have seen, what we have already discussed, right? And historically, 65 to 70% of defense equipments were being imported, right? And now what is happening is that the government is saying that 65% of defense equipment is manufactured within India, right? And that's because of the kind of emphasis that was placed on indigenization. Like I mentioned that your defense PSUs, they have played a remarkable role right? 430 licensed companies have played a very important role. 16,000 MSMEs have played a very important role, right? So you see that it's the entire value chain that has, played an important. It's not just the PSUs or the private sector alone. It's a combination of both of these that has played an important role. And if 16,000 MSMEs are involved, then that's very good business for them, right? 21% of the production is coming from the private sector, right? And this is only going to increase in times coming ahead, right? So these numbers are something that you all understand, right? To just give you some names of some platforms or some equipments that you may want to use in your answers to kind of, strengthen your answers. So be it your Dhanush artillery gun system, right? Be it your advanced Taud artillery gun system, be it your main battle tanks, Arjuns, be it your light combat aircrafts, your Tejases, your submarines, frigates, corvettes, right? Your recently commissioned INS Vikrant, right? So they have been developed reflecting the growing capabilities of India's defense sector. So these are some of the platforms, or these are some of the names that you would like to mention in your answers as something which we are indigenously producing, right? So I guess that you are getting my the gist of what I'm trying to say over here, right? Looking at the export numbers over here. Okay, looking at the export numbers over here. So we were exporting around 1900 crore worth of defense goods were being exported, which is now increased to 21,000 crore, right? So we have been hitting all-time highs, right? It was around 686 crore in the year of 2013-14, and now it is 21,000 crore. 30 times we have been able to increase, right? So that's again thanks to the government of India's policy, the kind of focus that they have, laid upon this particular idea, right? So that's helpful, right? Now what is it that we have exported? For instance, bulletproof jackets and helmets, Dornier aircraft, Chetak helicopters, fast interceptor boats, lightweight torpedoes, right? So this is something that we have been able to export. We have already once spoken about the made in Bihar boots, which are now a part of the Russian army's equipment. So I'm not going to elaborate on that again over here, right? So yeah, 100+ nations को हमने export करा है. USA, France, Armenia, these are important destinations for our exports, right? So being able to export to countries such as USA and France, that itself is a feather in the cap, in the sense that if you tell other countries, right? Let's say if you are meeting with your Asian clients or African clients, and you tell them that you are exporting to industrialized, or you have exported to Western countries such as US and France, and they are your regular customers for XYZ items, right? So then automatically that automatically builds trust and credibility in you as a supplier, you as a manufacturer. Because what the other country will think is that, okay, if US is using, if France is using, so they will obviously have very high standards, because they will provide nothing but the best to their frontline forces, nothing but the best, right? So if these guys can buy from India, why can't we buy from India? So that kind of validation is very important. That kind of validation is very, very helpful from a sales and marketing point of view, right? So that is something that you have to look at. We are looking to increase our exports to 50,000 crore by 2029, right? So that is an exemplary target to have. To speak very quickly about certain key government initiatives which has helped us in this regard, right? So your liberalized FDI policy, meaning that FDI limit in the defense sector, it was raised to 74%, and this is through the automatic route, no permission etc. is required, right? And up to 100% through the government route, right? So when you come through the automatic route, 74%, when you come to the government route, you can come up till 100%, right? So significant investment is also coming into India from abroad, right? If you look at the budget allocation, right? So that was around 6,21,000 crore approximately, right? So significant budget allocation is there, and I would say that not just budget allocation is there, but there is a priority for defense procurement, that we are not just throwing money at it, right? We are saying that no, you need to produce domestically. We are saying that please excuse me, we are saying that, boss, defense acquisition procedure 2020 is really emphasizing on indigenous procurement, right? There is a positive indigenization list that exists, right? So we have this 5 positive indigenization lists, 509 items of services, 5 lists of 5012 items for DPSUs, and there is an embargo on imports beyond specified timelines, right? So very clearly we are identifying that, okay, these are the items that we are going to produce indigenously. Everybody knows that, okay, this is going to be produced indigenously, this needs to be procured indigenously. So the entire ecosystem is aware what is happening. So the policy certainty is very, very helpful in this regard, right? It's very clear, right, that where we are headed so far as the policy is concerned. Simplified licensing processes, IDEX scheme. This IDEX scheme is something I think that we launched in collaboration with United States of America, if I'm not wrong, right? So innovations for defense excellence scheme, so that we can involve startups and MSMEs in defense innovation. Public procurement preference, right? Indigenization portal in the form of Srijan. Defense industrial corridors, at least in Uttar Pradesh and Tamil Nadu so far. Opening up of defense R&D and defense procurement allocation, right? So these are some of the initiatives that I want you to be aware of, and this is the conclusion I'm sure you'll be able to read and appreciate, right? So this is my entire submission to you regarding defense production, right? Very, very important. Definitely you can expect some kind of a question coming in on this directly or indirectly, and please be prepared, please be well prepared, right? Use it well, okay? Use all the schemes ka names that I have provided. Use the platforms, use the numbers, production number as well as the export number as well as the export target number, right? If you can use all of those things, you'll be very easily be able to stitch together 250 words at least on this particular topic, right? Yeah. Now let's speak about livestock. Let's speak about the allied sector, right? So we do a livestock census every 5 years to gather essential data on livestock numbers, distribution, composition. We would like to know which kind of livestock is there in which state, so that we know that how we need to support this particular sector, right? So obviously it gives us a good sense of what the current state of the sector is. It helps us undertake a lot of future planning and development activities as well, right? So animal husbandry division, they are the ones who are responsible for generating this all the data, right? And there is something called as a livestock census and integrated sample survey, right? So it's a scheme, right? So through this, the Department of Animal Husbandry and Dairying, they collaborate with state departments of the same subject, that is animal husbandry, and they collect comprehensive data, right? So this is a quinquennial livestock census, meaning that something which happens every 5 years. That's what a quinquennial survey means, right? So we have been doing this since 1919, right? You understand why we are doing it. Annual integrated sample survey, right? So through this annual integrated sample survey, we estimate the production of milk, meat, egg, and various other value-added items, right? So yeah, this is something that we do, right? So we use computer-assisted personal interviewing via the ELIS software. The only reason why I am torturing you and making you go through all of these is that this can very, very easily become the subject matter of a multi-choice question. You have to be aware of these things. These are not easily available new things, easily available things in your magazines, in your current affairs. So please be aware of the same, right? So they come out with some publications, so that's good, right? Importance of livestock census, right? So some very headline kind of numbers. We have approximately 300 million bovines, which includes cattle, buffaloes, mithuns, and yaks, right? We have approximately 75 million sheep. So 75 into 4 is 300. So it will be easy for you to remember. We have approximately 150 million goats. So 75 into 2 is approximately 150, right? So very, very convenient, right? We have approximately 9 million pigs, right? We have about 850 million poultry heads, right? This is as per the 20th livestock census, right? Why are these numbers important? Why are these animals important? They are important because they provide nutrition security to us. They provide livelihood opportunities, especially to small and marginal farmers, landless laborers. Because if you can't have land, then at least near to your home or wherever you could at least try to nurture some kind of livestock which can give some kind of a source of income to you, right? So it helps make agricultural practice more sustainable, more resilient, right? There's a significant growth in the livestock sector, right? So if you look at the GVA, right? So 13 lakhs 55,000 crore worth of GVA is coming from the livestock sector, right? That's about 30% of the combined agriculture and allied sectors, right? If you look at the agriculture and allied sector in totality, so approximately 30%, close to 13 lakh 50,000 crore is coming from agriculture and allied sector, and it is growing at a massive CAGR, right? It is growing quite fast, right? So if you look at the constant prices of 2011-12, right? So that's around 6,90,000 crore worth of gross value added, right? Uh, Again, a growth rate of 5% compared to the previous year, and 5% is absolutely acceptable, right? Absolutely acceptable. Milk production has also reached record highs, etc., etc., right? So the numbers are there in front of you, very much there in front of you, right? So you can see over here how the numbers are changing, right? You don't need to remember everything. The headline numbers that are highlighted, they are important, which is something that you already understand, right? What are the important flagship schemes, right? So there are a lot of schemes aimed at enhancing productivity, enhancing healthcare, enhancing infrastructure for this entire sector. So first and foremost is your Rashtriya Gokul mission, something that we launched in 2014 with the idea of development and conservation of indigenous bovine breeds, with the idea of improving milk production, with the idea of making dairy farming profitable for rural farmers, especially women, right? So whether it is genetic improvement through artificial insemination or IVF or genomic selection, we are doing all of these things, right? So as a student, when you're writing an answer, and when let's say that you're speaking about the allied sector, let's say you're speaking about the livestock sector, right? So obviously you need to mention Rashtriya Gokul Mission and then just probably one line on RGM or maximum two lines on RGM, right? So you can just pick up a few words from here and that would be sufficient. Same goes for your National Livestock Mission, NLM, right? 2014-15 के अंदर we had launched. The idea being that whether it is employment or whether it is entrepreneurship, we want to support it through also increasing production of meat, egg, milk, wool, right? With the idea that let's create forward and backward linkages in the livestock sector, right? So that I, as somebody who is practicing animal husbandry, I get all the inputs that I need through backward linkages, and whatever I'm producing, I can supply to, let us say, food processing units in the vicinity, which is the forward linkage, right? So what that does is that it brings about a lot of integration and it brings about a lot of formalization, right? So your National Livestock Mission is doing that. Then you have a livestock health and disease control, which is self-explanatory, right? So 100% central assistance is being provided, right? I'm sure that you are understanding that we are implementing vaccination programs, we are implementing disease surveillance programs, right? National program for dairy development, okay? So the idea is to focus upon milk quality. The idea is on organized milk procurement. So a lot of small farmers, a lot of small households, they are producing milk. So we just want to make sure that we are able to pool the milk together and ensure that the quality is maintained, right? We don't want to create any kind of wastage. So quality testing and chilling infrastructure is very, very important, right? So we are trying to create the dairy infrastructure as well as market linkages in Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, and we have the support of Japanese agency called JICA in this regard, right? To wrap it up, there is National Animal Disease Control Program. There is Dairy Processing and Infrastructure Development Fund. It's a very important initiative started in 2017-18, right, with funding from NABARD. We also have Animal Husbandry Infrastructure Development Fund, right? We have a supporting dairy cooperatives and farmer producer organizations scheme, right? So collectively, all these sets of policies, programs, measures, schemes, they have really helped us in a very beautiful way, right? To bring about the sustainable growth of the livestock sector, which is benefiting millions of households and which is driving overall economic development in our country, right? So that is my second submission to you. Coming to my third submission, right? So this third article speaks about what we have done so far as land records digitization in India is concerned, right? So definitely there is significant digital transformation that we are trying to do for the agricultural landscape. Okay. It's a wide ranging project. It's not just about digitization of land reforms. There are a lot of other players involved trying to do a lot of other things, right? So the idea is that we wanted to really move away from complex paperwork and ownership disputes wala ecosystem to an ecosystem where everything is digital, everything is crystal clear, transparent, and there are no hassles, right? And that is something that we have been able to achieve, right? So what is the need for, let's say, digitization of land records, right? So issues such as disputes, fraud, inefficient manual processes, these are extremely time taking processes, and they are extremely energy sapping processes, right? Now the problem over here is that if my ownership information is not easily accessible to me, it is not easily accessible to my bank. So my bank will take its own sweet time in deciding whether they want to give me a loan or not, whether I am credit worthy or not. But if my land ownership information is easily accessible to me and therefore also easily accessible to banks, so banks can very quickly decide my credit worthiness, and that is just one of the possible benefits, right? That is just one of the possible benefits. So whether it is dispute resolution, that will be simplified, whether it is code burdens, that will be reduced, whether it is marginalized communities, they will be empowered because they will have access to their land rights, right? We have integrated this with geospatial mapping, right, which will be helpful in land management, which will be helpful in accurate surveys and planning, right? So if the government knows that, okay, this 10 acres of land belongs to Avinash, this land ka latitude and longitude is X, Y and Z, and यही एरिया के ऊपर जो है, we have had some kind of thunderstorm activity जिसकी वजह से there must have been crop damage on this land. So let's help Avinash. Let's send, let's say, 10,000 rupees to Avinash as ex gratia or something like that, right? So it's very beautiful, right? This case study becomes really beautiful because they know where I am, they know my latitude, longitude, they know the quantity of land that I am holding, they know that what am I typically growing, they know the amount of losses that I have experienced because of this unprecedented event which has happened, weather event which has happened, and they can help me in a matter of minutes if they want to help me, right? So that becomes really helpful, right? So whether it is land acquisition or whether it is disaster response, right, it will help in fair and timely compensation, right? It will help in a very big way so far as land governance systems is concerned. Now coming to our immediate point of discussion, that how exactly did we go about achieving this digitization? So for this we have this standalone scheme, Digital India Land Records Modernization Program, right? So this is a central sector scheme, right, which was restructured and launched in April 2016, right? So when I say the central sector scheme, it goes without saying that the full funding for this scheme is coming from the central government, right? The idea being to establish modern and transparent land record management system. That's the idea, right? So we have created integrated land information management system, right? ILIMS apparently, right? So this will provide real-time land information. It will optimize land use. It will benefit landowners, and you are understanding where this is going, right? 95% of the land records, they have been computerized. 6.26 lakh villages have been covered, right? There is something called as cadastral maps. So we have been able to digitize them, and that's about 68% at the national level, right? 87% of sub-registrar offices, they have been integrated with land records, right? So new features like Aadhaar based integration with land records, right, and computerization of revenue codes, right? So these are the next milestones for this DIL RMP. So that's a good thing. This is something that I mention every week, that this government, they will launch schemes in phases, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, right? And they will roll out things in a targeted manner. So what are the key initiatives? So there is something called as UL PIN, that is unique land parcel identification number. So this is like your Bhu Aadhaar or Aadhaar number for your Bhu or land, right? So it's basically a 14-digit alphanumeric code for each land parcel. Okay, so it's very helpful. Like I mentioned to you, if they can link this ULPIN with my Aadhaar number, so they know where I am located and where my land is located, right? There is a national generic document registration system, right? This is basically your e-registration system. It uniform process for deed document registration across the country, right? So one nation, one system, right? That is getting reflected over here. There is this e-court integration, right? So your land records have been linked with e-courts, right? So authentic land information is being provided to the judiciary for faster case resolution, reducing land disputes and so on. There is transliteration of land records, right? So we are basically transliterating the land documents into any of the 22 languages, right? So that people when they are moving from X geography to Y geography, investing in agricultural land, etc., etc., so language doesn't become a barrier. There is something called as Bhumi Samman, right? So platinum grading for completing over 99% of the program's core components. So that's something which 168 districts have achieved. Platinum grading, which is again very innovative. That there are requirements of certain schemes. If you have achieved, let's say 75% requirement, you are at a silver grading. If you have achieved 90%, you are at a gold grading or whatever. I'm just guessing, right? So 168 districts achieving platinum grading means that there are a lot more districts, at least 150 more districts, which must be important agricultural districts, which needs to get their acts right so far as achieving this platinum grading is concerned, right? So yeah, this is very beautiful, very important, right? Please keep this in mind, right? So even if you're speaking about agriculture per se, then you can mention that yes, Government of India has really pushed ahead the initiative of digitization, which is going to have a lot of subsequent benefits for the overall sector, right? So whether it's an answer related to agriculture or a standalone question related to digitization in agriculture, this is going to be helpful for you. Which reminds me that I should discuss a standalone article with you speaking exclusively about digitization in agriculture. Not just about digitization of land records, but digitization of agriculture. So that's something that probably we can do, going ahead at some point of time. Let's very quickly speak about the Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana. So this Yojana was launched in 2015, right? And the idea was to focus on non-corporate, non-farm, small and micro enterprises, because corporates will take care of themselves. Farmers have Kisan credit card. What about everybody else who is non-corporate, non-farm, small and micro enterprises? What about them? So we decided that we'll give a loan of up to rupees 10 lakhs to this particular segment, right? Subsequently, we increased the loan limit to 20 lakh rupees in the budget of 24-25, right? And this new limit has taken effect on October 24, 2024, right? So we have created a new category called Tarun Plus, right? So if you are somebody who has taken loan already and you have repaid the loan successfully, means you have established yourself as responsible, as credit worthy, then we want to support you, right? That's what we want to do. Okay. So excuse me, right? So the idea over here is that Mudra Yojana, so this Mudra stands for Micro Units Development and Refinance Agency Limited, right? So Mudra in itself is a financial institution, right, which has been set up under the Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana. And what we are doing over here is that this Mudra, this agency, it helps in providing refinance support to your financial institutions. So if I'm a financial institution lending to this segment, then I'm getting refinance support from Mudra, right? So that is what Mudra is helping us in doing, right? So given the fact that there is a lot of youth and there is a lot of aspirations and a lot of entrepreneurship potential at the local ground level that can be actualized, that is what this scheme is trying to do, right? So under this Yojana, free loans up to rupees 20 lakhs, they are extended by member lending institutions. So who are the member lending institutions? Your scheduled commercial banks, your RRBs, your SFBs, your NBFCs, your MFIs, right? That's what I said, right? You don't see the name of Mudra over here, right? Mudra is not directly lending to the borrower. Who is borrowing to the borrower? Your MLIs are lending. Who are your MLIs? Your SCBs, RRBs, SFBs, NBFCs, MFIs, right? Obviously, loans are given for activities such as manufacturing, trading, services, whereby you can generate some kind of income, Now, when the scheme was launched, there were only three categories of loans. There was a Shishu loan of 50,000 rupees. There was a Kishore loan of 50,000 to 5 lakh rupees. There was a Tarun loan of 5 lakh to up to 10 lakh rupees. Now we have created a new category, that is Tarun Plus, which involves giving loans from 10 lakhs to 20 lakhs. So this is the new addition that has been done. So you see that the scheme has not been wound down and scheme has not been wrapped up and forgotten for the good. We have expanded the scheme. We are trying to go to the next frontier. This is what I really appreciate about the way they manage their schemes in these conditions, right? So we created four categories as we just discussed. Certain achievements of Mudra, right? So women borrower. So 108. No, what is this number? Wait. 1,08,000, yeah, 1,08,000 crore worth of loans were disbursed under the Shishu category, which is the smallest category, right? Around the same, around 100,000 crore under the Kishore category, and around 13,400 crore under the Tarun category, right? So major focus on Kishore and Shishu, which is good, right? We don't want to unnecessarily give too much money to borrowers who don't know what to do with the money. So we have to be responsible in lending, right? So that's good. Minority borrowers, right? So I'm not able to understand. So let's just okay. So these are the numbers, right? 88,000 for 88 lakh, sorry, around 90 lakh accounts with a sanction amount of 30,000 crore, right? There are around 35 lakh accounts over here. These are crazy numbers, guys. Right? There are 7,57,000 accounts, right? I'm assuming that these are individual borrowers, right? I'm assuming there are a lot of assumptions over here. I'm assuming that these are unique borrowers, right? That these many beneficiaries have been able to take money from this particular Yojana, right? So unique borrowers, right? Okay, there are some amounts which have been given, right? Fair enough. So yeah, there is something called as Mudra card, right? There is a Mudra app, Mudra Mitra. There are certain steps which have been taken for proper implementation of the scheme. So whether it is hand holding or whether it is quick disbursal or whether it is publicity or whether it is simplification of the application form, right? A lot of steps have been taken, right? Fair enough. So yeah, a positive step in the right direction in terms of creating the Tarun Plus category. So this is my submission to you. 4 articles I have explained to you, 4 very important articles which you can use as value added material in your answer writing, or this will be very helpful if you get a standalone question on any of these topics, whether it is Mudra or defense indigenization or livestock or it is your digitalization of land reform. If you do get a standalone question, this discussion will be very helpful. If you are getting regular questions, you can use this discussion as value added content for enriching your regular answers. So this is my submission today. We'll meet on Monday again and we'll take this ahead. Until then, thank you so much. All the best and Jai Hind to all of you. Bye bye.